Hi everyone, I have a really special Thanksgiving book for us today. It's called Keepunumuk, Weeâchumun's Thanksgiving Story. And this is a story written by Native American authors to tell the story of the first Thanksgiving from a Native American perspective. And it's really important that we read books like this because in history, not everyone's voice is heard. So it's really important that when we get chances to hear other voices that we listen. So often we hear the Pilgrim story of the first Thanksgiving, but this is a book about the Wampanoag, or Native American version of the first Thanksgiving story. This was written by Daniel Greendeer, Anthony Perry, and Alexis Bunton, and it was illustrated by Gary Nietzsche Sr. I apologize, my cover is very shiny. So on this page we have something called Before You Begin. This is a tale of the harvest feast shared by the newcomers and the Wampanoag people in 1621. The newcomers, pilgrims, arrived in what is now Plymouth, Massachusetts, and colonized the ancestral homeland of the Wampanoag tribes. At the time of the first Thanksgiving, many tribes lived in the same area. They are often known as Indians or Native Americans. In this story, we call them First Peoples because they were the first to live on this land. The Wampanoag people have taken care of their land and tended their gardens for at least 12,000 years. The Wampanoag people hunt, fish, and raise the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash. Over time, First Peoples developed a deep knowledge about the ways that many plants, often called medicine, help bodies and minds stay healthy. And then this section is called Important Words to Know. In the past and still today, Wampanoag people speak a language called Wampanoag. There are some Wampanoag words and concepts in the story, so I'm going to do my very best to pronounce the words correctly. But sometimes when you're first learning a language and the words are unfamiliar, it might be a little difficult. So it's a good lesson for all of us to be patient with one another when someone is learning a new language, like when we meet someone who's learning English for the first time and they stumble upon the words, that we be patient with them because it's very difficult to learn a new language, isn't it? So some of the words that they're going to be using in this story are Keepunumuk, the time of harvest, Nasamp, a traditional Wampanoag dish, Nukamus, that means grandmother, Usamikwan, the leader of the Wampanoag tribe, also known as Massasoit, Succotash, a soup made from corn, beans, and squash, Tisquantum, a Wampanoag man also known as Squanto, Turtle Island, a name used by many First Peoples for North America based on traditional stories, Wampanoag, the First Peoples tribe means people of the first light, and Weeâchumun, corn, and a Weetu is a traditional Wampanoag home. All right. I love your garden this time of year, said Maple. Me too. What shall we pick for lunch? Nukamus asked. How about crab apples? Maple suggested. No, chokecherries, Quill shouted. Those are both good medicine, Nukamus said. How about some Weeâchumun as well? So Maple and Quill are the two young girls, and Nukamus is their grandmother. So they're talking about all the food that they would like to pick. Yes, Maple replied. She is such a good big sister to beans and squash. The three sisters. They grow together, Quill added. You're right. They feed people all over Turtle Island, Nukamus said, and they have many stories to tell. Can you tell us a story? Quill asked. How about the time Weeâchumun asked our Wampanoag ancestors to help the pilgrims? Nukamus replied. The first Thanksgiving? Maple asked. Some people call it that, Nukamus said. We call it Keepunumuk, the time of harvest. Here's what really happened. So there we have some Weeâchumun, and there's Nukamus sitting down to tell a story to Maple and Quill. One frosty fall morning a long time ago, a large boat with white sails approached the shore. Seagull circled above the boat, squawking, "New people are coming! New people are coming!" Hearing the news, Weeâchumun stretched her weary ears toward the sky. "Who are those new people?" she asked. So here we have the ship, which we know is the Mayflower. And the seagulls saying, "New people are coming, new people are coming." So this is an interpretation of the spirit of Weeâchumun, of corn. So it's not like a real physical being, but a spirit. Two winters had passed since many of the first people who cared for Weeâchumun passed on to the spirit world. Those who were not taken by sickness found new homes to ease their heavy hearts and rebuild their lives. Weeâchumun feared this winter would be her last and called upon Fox for help. Fox looked up at Weeâchumun. "Should we trust these newcomers?" he asked. "Stay close and watch what they do," Weeâchumun told Fox. So this is talking about before the pilgrims arrived in the area where the Wampanoag were living. A lot of people had gotten sick and died from that area. So that's what she's talking about, so that there weren't many people to plant Weeâchumun anymore. So she was wondering what maybe these newcomers could plant her, but she wanted Fox to observe them. So here we have Weeâchumun and her two sisters, Squash and Beans. They grow together. That's why they call them the three sisters. Fall turned to winter. Weeâchumun and the other plants fell asleep. Fox watched the newcomers come ashore. He watched as they made their way into the forest. He watched them enter an abandoned Weeâchumun. He watched them take a cooking pot and a basket of Weeâchumun seed. "Don't take us away," the seeds cried. "We are waiting for the first peoples to come back in the spring to prepare our beds. We must grow first." But the newcomers could not hear the seeds. Their ears did not know the voices of the land. So remember, a Weeâchumun is a Wampanoag home. So here the pilgrims are and entering the home and taking some Weeâchumun seeds. Here we have Fox observing. Fox observing them. Fox watched the newcomers build homes on top of an empty village. He watched as they searched for food, but they could never find enough to eat. Many of the newcomers lost mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters during the long, cold winter. The first peoples watched as well. News traveled fast among nearby tribes that newcomers had arrived. Nobody was sure what to make of them. For many years, others had traveled across the sea to hunt, fish, and trade. Some were friendly, and some were not. These new people seemed different. They were here to stay. So, here's some first peoples watching. There had been people from European countries that had traveled to America, but they never settled and started a village there. They traveled for hunting, fur trapping, but they said these newcomers are different. They look like they're here to stay. They're building homes. Oh, and there's Fox again, observing. Winter turned into spring. The sun warmed the earth. The newcomers continued their search for food. Weeâchumun awoke from her long slumber and thanked the Creator for another season. She and her sisters, Beans and Squash, pushed through the ground and reached towards the sky. Fox returned to share what he had seen. "The newcomers are hungry," Fox told the three sisters. "They took Weeâchumun's seeds, but they don't know how to help them grow." So here it is, springtime is arriving, and the three sisters are returning. And Fox is letting them know what he's seen. He's saying, The newcomers are very hungry, but they don't know how to grow these foods. Other animals came to hear what Fox had to say. We should help, Weeâchumun said. I agree, Bean said. Our home is their home now. I think we should too, said Squash. People help us grow. We must help, Deer said. We agreed to feed the people, and in return, they take care of the home we share. I wouldn't, said Fox. The newcomers don't know our world. Sometimes new people can seem scary, Rabbit said. The Creator tells us to help all living things. This is how the world works. Yes, Duck and Turkey agreed. It's settled, said Weeâchumun. We will send the first peoples to help the newcomers. So here the animals are saying, what should we do? And they decided that they are going to help the newcomers. Over the next few nights, Weeâchumun sent dreams to the first peoples with a message. Bring me and my sisters to the newcomers. They are hungry and need help. The first peoples listened. So here they are sleeping in a weeâchu. And Weeâchumun had sent them dreams to help the newcomers. Because they were very hungry. Their leader, Weeâchumun, visited the newcomers. He could see that they wanted peace. Weeâchumun introduced the newcomers to Tisquantum. Spring turned into summer. Tisquantum showed the newcomers how to raise Weeâchumun and her sisters, Beans and Squash. He taught the newcomers how to feed fish and seaweed to Weeâchumun to help her grow. So here the first peoples are teaching the newcomers, how do we grow these plants? How do we live off this land so that they may survive? Soon, Weeâchumun's seeds pushed through the earth and climbed towards the sky. Beans wrapped around Weeâchumun's strong stalks. Squash stretched her vines across the ground, keeping Weeâchumun's bed cool and moist. So that's why they call them the three sisters, because they really work together to create a strong and healthy plants. All three of them benefit. Summer turned to fall. Weeâchumun brimmed with food. So did Beans and Squash. Weeâchumun smiled as the newcomers thanked Tisquantum and the first people for their help. Keepunumuk, the time of harvest, had come. So with the first people's help, the newcomers were able to grow, the pilgrims were able to grow food to survive, and they were very thankful. The newcomers prepared a feast to celebrate the first year in their new home. They fired muskets in celebration. Boom, boom, boom. Weeâchumun, warriors, and the other first peoples arrived. They feasted for 3 days. That meal changed both of our lives and theirs forever. Both our lives and theirs forever. Many Americans call it a day of Thanksgiving. Many of our people call it a day of mourning. So on that first Thanksgiving, the first peoples, Wampanoag, joined the pilgrims in a 3-day feast to celebrate the harvest, Keepunumuk. Some people, you might be wondering why some first peoples call it a day of mourning. And it's because this was sort of the end of their way of life, because more and more newcomers came in. Some were not friendly, some did not want peace. And they changed the way that the first peoples were able to live their life forever. That's different than what we learned in school, said Maple. It was Weeâchumun and the other beings of the land, sea, and sky who made the first newcomers' first harvest possible. That's right, Newcomus said. This is why we pray before we eat. Well, what did the newcomers and our ancestors eat, Nukamas? Quill asked. Many things. Succotash, duck, turkey, rabbit, deer, lobster, fish, pumpkins, cranberries, boiled bread, and nesamp, Nukamas said. All of this talk about food is making me hungry, Maple said. Let's go make some lunch then, Nukamas laughed. And we'll enjoy every bite, said Quill. Look at that wonderful harvest. Thanks to the beings of the land, sea, and sky. And they decided, you know what? After that wonderful story, let's go eat and enjoy the food of our land. This is a page telling you more about the Wampanoag people, about the Wampanoag tribe, the Wampanoag storytelling tradition, Wampanoag harvest feast, and a tradition of giving thanks. This is a lot, so I'm not going to read it, but I do love when books include extra information like this. They also have a map here, tribal nations and traditional names and locations. So this is what we would call Massachusetts, but the first peoples had different names for it. They had all sorts of different names that they called each of these areas. And this says make a Wampanoag recipe. Nesamp is a traditional Wampanoag dish made from cornmeal, nuts, berries, and fresh maple syrup boiled in water until it thickens. Children should always get help from adults before using the stove. So this is a recipe you could follow to try a traditional Wampanoag dish. This says meet Maple and Quill. The real Maple and Quill are Mashpee Wampanoag kids who live in Mashpee, Massachusetts. In this photo, Maple is 4, Quill is 2, and baby Tulsi is 12 months. Maple likes to pick flowers with her mom. Quill likes to fish with his dad. They both love to spend time listening to their grandma, Nukamas, tell them Wampanoag stories. So here they are. Here's sort of the inspiration behind the characters in the story. Isn't that interesting? So that was a really special book to read. It's always important that we listen to everyone's voice when we're learning history. And this was Thanksgiving from the first people, the Wampanoag point of view. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're having a great day.